And this is a Fox News alert after standing by all day for a press briefing from the FBI on the status of the investigation and the possible suspects. The news conference was abruptly canceled just a few hours ago. Now, Fox News has learned that law enforcement has obtained photos of 2 potential suspects in Monday's deadly bombings. For the very latest on the images, we go back to our very own Rick Leventhal, who has seen the photos with his own eyes. Rick, what do you know?
Well, Sean, what I know is that this photo, as you mentioned, is being distributed among law enforcement. It identifies 2 persons of interest, possible suspects in the bombing at the marathon on Monday. I'm not going into descriptions of the men in the photograph because we don't want to jeopardize the FBI's investigation. My suspicion is that the FBI canceled its press briefing and canceled its statement and isn't talking right now because it's focused on the investigation and doesn't want to jeopardize it. And as we saw earlier from the FBI statement that it released this afternoon, the agency appears to be angry about misreporting that went on this afternoon. Some local and some national media reporting that, in fact, a suspect was in custody and had been arrested when apparently that's not true. So the FBI canceled its briefing. My source shared the photo with me, one of the photos with me, that depicts these 2 men at the scene, and it seems pretty clear that law enforcement is very intent on talking with these guys. We don't know if they've identified them. We don't know if they've cornered them. We don't know if they may even be in custody at this hour, but certainly these are 2 people that the FBI is very interested in talking to.
You know, Rick, I spoke with my sources on the ground, and they described pretty much what you have seen as well, and I have also seen the photos of the people we're talking about. Rather than talk about the descriptions of the individuals, I want to focus in particular on the one black backpack. Very big, seemingly like the size of the bomb that we now know was used in this particular incident. And more importantly, a protrusion, which would be in the middle, which would seem to fit the description, at least trying to guess what's inside a backpack by that one middle piece. Can you at least describe that aspect of it? Because I think that our audience would be well served by hearing it.
Well, Sean, yesterday the FBI told the world that they're looking for a couple of guys asking for help from anyone who may have seen a couple guys carrying what appeared to be very heavy bags. They reported that they believe the 2 bombs were contained in black backpacks or knapsacks, and that those bags would have been very heavy because of the nature of the bombs. And the backpack that you're describing in the photo that we've seen does appear to be a very heavy backpack.
Very heavy.
That said,
with that protrusion.
Doesn't necessarily,
Yeah.
Yes, but it doesn't mean that's the guy. But there has been other reporting about a suspect being seen on a surveillance video placing a bag down prior to the explosion taking place. And that suspect may match the person in this photograph. They may have gone backwards from that video to find a photo or another image of these suspects together in one place, and that's what led them to this picture, which may in fact identify the 2 people responsible for this bombing. Again, Sean, the important thing is here, not that the media have the latest information, every single detail of this investigation. The important thing is, yes, that they find the people responsible for this. And the last thing I think that anyone wants is to jeopardize the investigation and hamper and send these people underground. So
I'm only giving information that was already reported on other media sources, and I've been monitoring it very closely here. So, all right, Rick Leventhal, thanks so much for being with us. Great work as always. And as we await word on who exactly was responsible for Monday's deadly attack, the question that begs to be answered: does the Boston bombing have the trademarks of an al-Qaeda-inspired terror strike? Joining me now with analysis, we bring back former LAPD Detective Mark Furman, terrorism expert Steve Emerson. Steve, I'm angry at the left for their speculation, almost hope. It's speculation and almost hoping that, oh, it's some right-wing wacko that they can demonize. So I don't want to go down that road. But there's certain fingerprints in terms of bombs that are used, certain patterns. Al-Qaeda, for example, is known for not just one attack, but multiple attacks, one right after another. Anything that you see in this incident that maybe points, in your mind, in any one direction?
Well, there are things that point in both directions. There are very many incongruous things here. Usually, Al-Qaeda tries to hit as many people as possible, which would mean hitting a bus, hitting a stadium, hitting a large concentration of people like at Times Square, not in an open park area. That doesn't seem to fit the Al-Qaeda MO. Yet the bomb itself seems to have been taken, its design taken from Inspire magazine, put out by Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. Now, let me throw in another curveball here, which is going to make news. Remember the Saudi that they initially had arrested or at least detained, and then I reported yesterday
the Saudi
that they
national.
had no, the Saudi national, the al-B, and then it was determined there was no involvement, and they made a statement to that effect. Well, I just learned from my own sources that he is now going to be deported on national security grounds next Tuesday, which is very unusual because.
Whoa. You learned that Saudi national is going to be deported on national security?
That's right.
Well, now, wait, hang on, because Reuters did have a report tonight that I found odd, and that was Obama was meeting with the foreign minister, Prince, earlier tonight, and it was not on Obama's schedule. Reuters reported that.
Well, that's very interesting because this is the way things are done with Saudi Arabia. You don't arrest their citizens, you deport them because they don't want them to be embarrassed, and that's the way we appease them.
Well, excuse me, nobody gets to get deported, Mark Furman, on national security grounds, especially after a terror attack, until we've concluded whether or not that person could have been responsible, right?
Listen, well, the political immunity.
Mark?
He wouldn't have
political immunity.
Yeah, all right, Mark Furman.
Well, the immunity of the immunity of people that are connected to a consulate or related to people that are in the Saudi government. I think that the United States government has a lot of discretion, and I think that they grease the wheel a lot because the Saudis are one of our biggest allies in the Middle East, and we want to keep them that way.
Excuse me, on national security grounds, if this is going to happen, I think this is something that the American people need to hear about ahead of time. Steve, you're sure of this report? How did you find this out tonight?
I found this out from a senior official in the agency that's conducting the deportation. That's ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
All right, well, that is obviously, if that's true, that's a big story.
It is a big story because it brings him back into the picture, and the question is, why is he not being prosecuted as opposed to being deported?
All right, Fox hasn't confirmed it yet, but we will be following up, I can tell you, and I'll be calling you immediately after the program. Thank you both. Mark, you're going to stay with us. Coming up, according